Sweet. Ready when you are, Coach.
Cool, Chiefy. We've heard from just the 19th and final signing to start the season. Tell us about Luke firstly and what you've seen in him to get him in the squad this year.
Well, Luke's rise been very quick. I noticed him in one of the academy games a couple of months ago when I first started. I was quite intrigued. I thought that he had some qualities that some of our probably lacking at the moment. Made some very intelligent runs, very good off the ball, knows where the space is, and I thought, look, let's bring him in the environment. We brought him in the second allotment of young players that came through, and he really impressed in the internals. I thought probably one of the better attackers on a consistent basis, and I feel like he fits the right profile that we're looking for at the moment. Plays with plenty of potential, but with the ability to also get some valuable minutes this year and contribute.
Were you weighing up anyone more experienced for that last spot, or was he sort of the logical choice based on the balance of the squad and what you needed?
I was looking at all the academy players that were available and looking to see what was around in the New Zealand leagues, and I just felt like he was probably the right fit.
In terms of the squad overall, it's completed. How satisfied are you with where things sit a month or so out from the season?
I'm pleasantly. I'm pleasantly surprised at the level they've reached over the 2 months that since I've started. Even though I was just reviewing an internal game that we played the other day, I thought the development of a lot of especially the younger players in this environment has been really promising, and I feel like now with the squad there's enough depth with the senior players that there is not only depth but there is competition for places. So I'm really happy on that front.
Does it take more time for you as a coach and extra work when you've got such quite a few players that are new to the ALeague or quite inexperienced?
Well, yeah, I think there's you can never have enough time to work on the model. It is new for all the players, and some senior players, some are a little bit slower than the younger players who are adapting really quickly. But it takes time. All these boys, to be fair, they're all starting from the same position, which is, for me, it's from zero. We're not continuing on what we've done over the last 4 years. There are some things that we are evolving, but it's a fresh start for everyone. So for me, it's more time would be great, but I'm also realistic. We've also had a long pre-season, so I've been able to get a lot of the content out.
What do you hope fans will see from the team, or be able to characterise the team as from the first couple of games?
Well, I think the first couple of games will still be more about finding feet and handling the level opposition and the intensity of the opposition. I stick to what I said before the Melbourne City game. We're going to play a high pressing game, high energy. There'll be a lot of attacking, but these things take time. That they don't happen overnight. Otherwise, everyone will be doing the same thing. What really is the gauge is getting those minutes against quality opposition to test the system and then fix what needs to be fixed. And it could take 2-3 games, it could take 4-5 games, but hopefully the change will be noticeable.
How close were you to sort of locking in maybe that final import spot before the season started, and what's the logical time frame on that now? Well,
we explored it at the beginning of my tenure, but I was very happy with the young players, especially the young centre backs that we have now. We've also signed Hughesy, who came in last week. I'm happy with how those players are going, and I think there's enough vibrancy, enthusiasm with those players and quality to be very competitive this year. So as soon as I had that, I came to that decision or that determination. I felt, all right, we don't need a foreign at the moment.
Do you think that could change? Is it in the back of your mind at the moment?
I have a change?
Could it change, come sort of the January transfer window or anything?
Things could change, but I'm happy with the path that we're going, and for me, it's more about patience from the coaching staff and from our fans. And I think Gilly was very clear last year on the club's philosophy and the vision. This is going to be a long process, and for me, it's more about exposing these kids, and I don't want to say kids, these young men, to an environment that is very, very difficult, but on the other side is we can make New Zealand internationals. We can sell players to overseas markets. We can play our brand with our players. So for me, it's more about that representation, which is very, very important for a club identity.
And just with the talk of a new Auckland franchise, how does the Phoenix make sure it continues doing its good work here and getting the best players if there is an alternative option for some Kiwi players, do you think?
Well, I look at it, I'm not the traditional thinker. I think Auckland franchise is actually very healthy for the game in New Zealand. I always hear there's an argument of a void or a lack of opportunity for a lot of good players that don't get the opportunity here, because we've only got, at the end of the day, we've got 18 professional spots or 20 with an extended academy. This will just widen the net, which will make it really valuable for those young players who just miss out or just don't get that opportunity. For us, we just continue doing our thing, which is sticking to maintaining. We develop our own players, have a good system in the academy, have a really good style to play, market ourselves really well, play good football, and then the players will come to us, we believe.
Cool.
Yep.
Still a few scholarship spots up for grabs as well. Clubs likely to make those announcements in December, January. How important is the National League for a lot of those players, and also with what they're doing at the training with you?
Well, it's really important because it binds for us critically whether they can adapt what we've taught here, those games, and then we can see whether there's progress. And once we're satisfied that those two elements can be met, then we can move forward and sign those players. So for me, it's a really important time period for those players now that are in contention.
Any positions in particular you're looking at for those scholarship positions, or is it going to be a range across the four?
Well, there'll be potentially another attacking spot. I'm looking at another fullback, and then the other two players, potential utility players that can play in the front line.
And these younger players coming through the academy, do they in some ways suit the style you're trying to play, the high-pressing, energetic style of football?
I think the advantage I have now is because we've started so early, I can bring in these players at an earlier date, expose them to the environment, and the ones that flourish, they need to show obviously some consistency, but I see things as if they have speed, they have creativity, they have a bit of flair, whether they are good tactically, whether they adapt in the environment, they can handle themselves with the senior players. Yes, so the answer is it allows me to pick who I think even at a younger age can be exposed to that environment and then have a higher chance of flourishing. So there's one boy at the moment that we have, I think he's just turned 17, he might be 16, turning 17. And for me, I get excited when I see a player like that, because I think if he's in our environment for at least a year and he gets minutes in the ALeague, everyone's going to be talking about him in 2 years as the next big thing. So that's the advantage of having this club philosophy and identity, is that we can pull these players in at an early stage and give them that exposure, and then we're able to kick their career forward.